Hello, Wendy.
Hello, Jane.
Welcome to Love Letters, Life, and Other Conversations. Hello, Wendy.
Hello, Jane. How are you?
I'm so well. We've just finished a long lunch under the old oak tree out back. We had John and Doris. You know, John is my 96-year-old friend, yes. And Doris is his wife, who's one of my closest friends, and of course all the residents. We went to Lenneberg market, Wednesday yes. morning market that you and Amelia went to with me.
Yes,
and we bought chicken and hot ham and potatoes and olives and aubergine tapenade and apricots and strawberries and two beautiful little goat's cheeses, one with wildflowers and one with Espelette peppers from the Basque region.
Oh, my word.
And we just had the loveliest long lunch under the oak tree, and it was just so gorgeous. Two of the residents, Genevieve and Lisa, set the table for me, and I was saying goodbye to John and Doris and having an extra giggle and chat at their car, and I walked in and those girls had virtually washed every dish and packed them away.
Look at that. These dreamy sentences that fall out of your mouth. I mean, you had me at lunch under the oak tree, but when the story ends and there's even no dishes.
I know. And then I was holding my phone and your message came across and you said, I'll open the call in 2 minutes. And I went, oh, yes, of course.
Let me just float from one delightful experience to the other.
Exactly.
There is a long line of people that want to be Jane Webster today, for sure.
Oh, well, first day of summer.
Right.
Summer solstice last night. It was a beautiful first day of summer. Could not have been more perfect. Blue skies and sunshine, the market and a long lunch. So
gorgeous.
Happy.
Gorgeous. I love it. Well, I am so excited. I know it's your turn, and I'm so excited because multiple times in conversation the last couple of days, you have started giggling and saying, you're going to die when you hear what we're going to talk about on the podcast. So I'm very eager.
So yesterday morning, Genevieve, one of the residents, was at the breakfast table and she said to me, Jane, I have to read something to you that just came up on Instagram that I think you will love. And she read it to me and I looked at her and I said, I read the same thing 15 minutes ago. I do love it. And then I said to her, you know what? I'm going to use that as the springboard for my conversation with Wendy today. And then we had that. Well, that was a worldwide Zoom fail yesterday afternoon.
Yes, it was. That was, in fact, a Zoom fail yesterday. But I was relieved that it was worldwide, but still.
We still had a lovely time chatting in your car.
We did.
But here we are. So this is what Genevieve read to me yesterday morning over breakfast, but I had already read 15 minutes earlier. And I don't know who said it, but it's somebody else's words. I will never for a moment in my life ever again fight for somebody to see my worth.
Ooh, that's juicy.
Told you were going to like it.
Oh, that's so good. Okay,
shall I say it
read
again?
It one more time, please.
I will never for a moment in my life ever again fight for somebody to see my worth.
It gives me chills.
Mm-hmm. Me too. I was thinking about it, and there's always someone or a situation that we all can think about where we've done this, right?
Oh, yes.
Where we've been in an unbalanced friendship or an unbalanced relationship or we've felt more than somebody else, right?
Yes.
And then you go into overdrive and you think, well, I'll do this and I'll do that and I'll say this and I'll say that and I'll be this person. And you get to a point where in your life, I suppose I got to this point. I was having this conversation with Maddie, with my 27-year-old, and she said to me, I will never try to convince someone of my worth or that I'm the right person to have a friendship with, or I'm the right person to hang out with, or I'm the right person to be in a relationship with. And I said, I'm really happy to hear that, darling, because you're 27 years old and you've worked that out. I don't think I worked that out until I think I'd just turned 50. And I still have lapses.
Of course. Of course we do.
My 27-year-old has any lapses, but she probably does. She probably says, Mum, that was so ridiculous that you said that. But she seems so determined not to be that person. But what I love about the particular phrase that I read out to you is the repetition and the emphasis. I will never, for a moment in my life, ever again, never, ever again, never, ever again fight for somebody to see my worth.
It's so good. The thing that really, gosh, I bump up against so many things with that, and just the way that it resonates. My word for 2022 is aligned. And you mentioned an imbalance in relationships, an imbalance in friendships, an imbalance in circumstances, and just getting an awareness of who I am personally and what delights me, since I'm only available for what delights me. But that, that's a phrase and a mantra that I'm living into, but it also requires constant reflection.
Oh, yeah.
When I find myself in either a new situation or a very familiar situation, wait a minute, does this delight me? Is this aligned? Am I able to be, or am I doing? Am I being or am I doing? Am I working? Am I proving myself? Am I rising to a challenge? Am I, what is my motivation in this moment to do whatever I am doing in this moment? And of course, someone might say that's an awful lot of navel gazing, and but I'm really I am really living into this desire to be intentional and to not allow my days to fly by, so that I look back and think, oh my gosh, how is it my birthday again? Where does time go? What is happening? So I am balancing this mindfulness with inspired action. And it really is a reflective practice for me.
And Wendy, what you're saying is that you're looking inward and that you are taking note and taking measure of your own worth.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And I think this sort of knowing your own worth is right at the crux of this. Absolutely. I will never for a moment in my life ever again fight for somebody to see my worth. You can only say that and you can only live that if you know your own worth. And that 100%. Is a very personal thing, and it has nothing to do with any other human being.
That is correct.
It's your internal measure of how you value yourself,
Mhm.
regardless of what Tom, Dick, or Harry may think of you
That's
or
right.
may say about you.
Right. Absolutely.
So I guess that sort of leads to, everyone might be saying, okay, that's all very nice, girls. I will never for a moment in my life ever again. Never, ever again. I love that.
It's so good.
Fight for somebody to see my worth. How do we go about knowing our own worth and walking away when somebody clearly does not just see you for you and see you for who you are? So what can we do in order to make this little mantra a reality?
That's such a great question. And it's so interesting. I'm immediately taken back to years ago, sitting in
Mhm.
church, my dad, the pastor of our church, sharing a sermon illustration
Mhm.
about people that work. I don't know if they work for the insurance company that insures banks, or if this was bank managers or tellers or
Mhm.
somebody in the banking industry, was
Mhm.
talking about the method that they use to discover counterfeit money is not to study counterfeit money, but to be intimately aware of how real money feels, smells, looks, and to really focus on the real thing rather than spinning and finding out and researching all the counterfeit pieces. And I
love that.
right?
So the analogy is that we need to learn what the real connection, what a real relationship looks like, what a real friendship looks like,
with ourself, then
but
we
okay.
are attracting, then because we know ourself, that
Yes.
then there's no more fighting for somebody to see something. You just are.
Because I think when you're fighting for somebody to see something, you've got to go inward and you've got to really ask some questions, ask and understand why. Why do I chase people who don't want me?
Because I don't know who I am.
Because
and
I don't know who I am.
I'm trying to be something that I have not attained or whatever. There is a disconnect, which is why in a disconnect, you have to do a lot of marketing and you have to do a lot of selling, because you're also trying to convince yourself of this thing. And when you spend Mondays in Paris, you see people walking down the street and you look at them and you say, damn, that woman, she is chic, she is mature, she is grace, she is a knowing. There's just an essence about someone walking down the street that knows who they are, embraces who they are, and it looks effortless. And then you see people walking down the street, not just in Paris, everywhere, but I just feel like there's just like, oh, it's so yummy. You see people that are just trying so hard.
Yeah.
And you look at them. I mean, I look at them with my 54 tomorrow eyes. And
54 tomorrow eyes.
I look at them with those eyes and I just think, oh gosh, honey, you're trying so hard. And I just want you to see that you're already enough. Yes. And I was not able to utter a sentence like that to somebody else until I looked in the mirror and could say the same thing to me and just say, Wendy Harrop, honey, you don't have to try so hard. You're just, you're already here. You've already arrived. Yeah.
Yes, you have. So I guess there are so many situations, Wendy, where this can be used in
absolutely
in family situations, in friendships, in groups of, I mean, we've all, I know you have, and I know I have.
Yes.
We've both been in situations growing up where, you know, you're in a group and there were some mean girls in the group.
Oh, yes.
Now, I remember thinking very early on, I was in a big group I had a big friendship group at school, but I was right on the outer of that friendship group. And rather than try to be on the inner, because there was a
Right.
lot of jokes that were made and I didn't understand most of them, I decided it was easier to go to choir and madrigal group and drama club and keep myself super, super busy every playtime and lunchtime, because I just felt stupid trying to crack a joke. And it seemed to be that was the only thing that anyone really responded to was joke cracking. I must have been in the wrong group.
Right. No, I love that.
And
about
sorry
you,
for any of my friends, old school friends that happen to be listening, because I know there are some of you, but we've all talked about this in, you know, years after school about, you know, that whole catastrophe of being a teenager,
Right.
being in puberty and trying to fit in.
So I
And
love your courage to decide not to try to
yeah,
get into that group.
I
I
did
not take that same road.
you know what? I've suddenly realized way back then, I congratulated Maddie because she was 27 and I said, good for you, darling. You know your worth
Right.
at 27. It took me till I was 50. But you know what? That little kid, that little 12 or 13-year-old kid, she did know her worth and she walked away. She walked away to choir and orchestra and madrigal group and had a lovely darn time.
Good for you. I think I've had lapses of what was possible, but for the most part, you know, we moved, it changed schools 3 times in high school. Essentially,
Yes.
like I went from a private school to a public high school. Oh, so twice. I changed twice in high school. Dramatic changes. I completely lost myself in trying to fit into a group that was already established and working, because I felt like I had so much time to make up for. It's like, oh my gosh, these people have been together their entire educational career and I only have 2 years to become popular. It's like, oh my God, who even uses that word the day after they graduate from high school? It's so crazy. But for me,
oh, Wendy, I think a lot of us do. You know, there's that whole, what is the hormone that's released? Dopamine. So when we're uncertain about how a person or a group or friend, you know, friends feel about us, we have this anticipation of what might happen. Oh, we might become friends, or we might start going to the mall together and having chocolate milkshakes, or I might get invited to that party. He might invite me to prom. I'm using the American examples.
Oh, I'm with you.
We don't use all those words, mall and prom and milkshake we use.
Okay, good. You're so blessed.
But when we think about all those things, and I'm using the adolescent phenomenon,
obviously,
for the example, dopamine secretes, and this hormone gives us addictive feelings of euphoria. And as we think about what might happen, more dopamine is released and we want more of it. And so we are then repeating the same behaviors and patterns and conversations because we know how pleasurable this high can be.
Right.
I think that's the key. I think I will never for a moment in my life ever again, never, ever again, if we can learn what it is that causes those feelings,
right,
then we can start to understand it. And then we can start to control being able to walk away from it.
Right. Or get those dopamine hits from how we feel about ourselves.
Exactly.
Take that internal pharmacy with us instead of giving the keys to the medicine cabinet to somebody else.
Yeah.
we can generate that internally, and that it's so attractive. It's so
Yeah.
attractive. It brings people and situations that are in alignment. And
Yeah.
it also is attractive to things that are not aligned. And so we continually are taking this internal temperature reading of, is this the right thing at the right time? Is this the right person for this place in my life? You know, this friendship, this relationship, whatever, this job, this trip to Paris, this,
Yeah.
you know, whatever. Like what
Yeah.
are the things that are important right now that continue to keep me on a track of living into my worth and not fighting for somebody else to see what I see in myself. We cannot change anybody. We cannot alter their experience. It doesn't matter how
No.
nice we are. It doesn't matter how good we are. It doesn't matter how much we compromise so that they are comfortable all the time.
Yeah.
None of that matters. We
No.
are owning our own experience. And a part of the experience that I personally want to have is to never, ever again in my life fight for someone to see my worth.
And I think that once we start to realize, you know, is this situation, is this person, is this relationship, is this friendship my biggest source of thought, of dopamine production?
Right.
Is that yes? Why? You have to start looking at what else you have in your life that is a genuine source of fun and fulfillment. Or, you know, when you were younger, like me.
Right.
Well, I love singing, I love dancing, I love drama. I will just fill all my recreational time during the school day with those pursuits. And so as a result of that, there was this big group of girls who I was sort of on the outer edge of. And then there were all my choir friends and my orchestra friends and my madrigal friends and my drama club friends. And actually all of that completely sustained me right through school.
Beautiful.
Now, I still had the big group, and I went to all those 18th birthday parties and they all came to mine, and I had a very, very nice social life. But I never sat trying to prove that Jane McAlpine was worth being a friend with. I just didn't.
What a gift.
So, it's funny. It's funny because when I read that yesterday, I thought, oh, yes, that's a really good one, because I finally learned that lesson at about 50. But from this conversation that we're having, I realized that I learned it a lot earlier. That maybe I learned it a lot earlier and then I forgot it.
Right. I think we have it ebbs and flows.
Ebbs and flows.
And we need to be gracious to ourselves and not, you know, count the years that we didn't practice this. It only matters what today is all that matters. And you can decide.
And I suppose getting personal clarity on what you want.
Right. Right. That practice of the 30 days of journaling with the same question, I want, and then going back and looking, were there any repeats, or do I actually still not know what I want?
Yes. And you know, knowing what you want, it's such a big, broad question. And I think it's where a lot of people get stuck.
Totally.
What do you want?
And then spend some time. I feel like even people that know what they want, you know, we have this dream or this desire of something that we want, and we don't allow ourselves enough space to think about it and dream about it and come away with some actionable items and make some, you know, take action in the direction of that. Because, you know, we come across against a thought, well, I just have to wait till the kids are out of school. And then you just put your little cute dream, sweet dream, not little, your giant,
Yeah.
gorgeous, beautiful, expansive dream back on the shelf with a bow and say, I will see you later when I have more time or when it's more appropriate for
Yeah.
me to focus on myself, because right now my children need me, my husband needs me, my job needs
Exactly.
me, my dog needs me, my
Exactly.
garden needs me. Everybody needs you, but guess what? You need you more.
Yeah. We were discussing this very question in my I Want More the Next 30 Years group. We all decided that in order for a person to create change, so every person doing I Want More the Next 30 Years wants some sort of change.
Sure.
And you've done the course, so you know what I'm talking about here. You know, when we do the mind mapping and we start to, you know, I say, you're here for a reason. Let's start talking about why you're here, what you want. What is the change that you want? And I believe that for a person to create change, their desire, their wish, their dream to change must be greater than their desire to stay the same.
Right. But only 1%. You only have to be at 51%.
Absolutely. Because then you've got something to work with.
That's right.
And then if the desire to change is more compelling, even if it is only 0.5%,
right,
you can take that first step. You can believe then, even just with the tiniest balance of the scales being on the side of change, you can start to really believe that it's possible, that the change is possible, and then, and only then, start taking actionable steps to make that dream a reality.
yes,
Make that change. I want to stop saying dream. Make that change. It might be something as simple as, I'm going to have porridge for breakfast every morning because it makes me feel better.
Yeah.
Or I'm going to go on the Bosquet walk every single morning, because sometimes, as hard as it is to put on my runners and get out the door because I've got so much else on my mind or to do, but I always feel fabulous at the end of it.
Right. Those are two things, like your quiet time, your morning routine, and exercise.
Yeah.
They might be challenging to implement, but you never, ever regret it.
Yeah. So, you know, we were talking the other night about sometimes it's hard to know what it is that you want.
Mhm.
You know, I Want More the Next 30 Years came about because a girlfriend said to me when I was questioning her, what do you want? What do you want? What do you want? What is it that you want? And she pointed at me on a video call and she said, I want more. So I want more. What does that mean? So I like to give people prompts when we're doing this, you know, mind mapping. What kind of person do you want to be?
Right.
What kind of person do you want to be? Not what kind of person do you want people to see you as? What kind of person do you want to be? What kind of relationship do you want? If you only know what you don't want, what would be the opposite of that?
Sure.
And that is actually a really great place to start. So, you know, a piece of paper divided down the middle, and on the left-hand side, all the things that you don't want.
Right.
Write down bullet point, all the things that you are no longer available for.
That's right.
That you do not want.
Right. I love this idea of chunking down.
Oh yeah, I love the chunking down.
You don't have to come up with the big dream, but you can make
No, start with something small. But if you can start exercising your mind and bullet points and journaling and mind mapping with the little things,
right,
then you then become practiced at thinking this way.
Yes.
And then when a big problem comes along or a very important problem comes along, or a very important issue comes along, or a very important friendship, or a very important relationship comes along, your mind is already exercised and knows how to sort through
Right.
the bigger issue.
Right. Just practicing choosing
Mm.
yourself. What would I
Yep.
what would I like for breakfast, as you said? What would I
Mm.
like? And some days we're just not capable of going to the big dream space, but you
Mm.
might be capable of, today I'm going to pick up my coffee cup with my left hand instead of my right hand, because that's just all I can do for myself right now. But just as you said, it becomes a practice.
Yes,
Because
exactly.
we are exercising those underused muscles.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
feel very silly, but for some people, it's an unfamiliar or uncomfortable concept
Mm.
to choose yourself.
Yes.
May have been told,
Yeah.
like we talked about a couple weeks ago, we might have been told that means we're selfish, but no, you're
No.
just choosing yourself. That's it. It's
Exactly.
okay.
Yeah. And remembering too, when you're doing this sort of exercising of, okay, I don't want this, but I do want that. It doesn't have to be a long-term goal either. What
Right.
about just thinking, let's just think about today. Today, I don't want to feel sad or stuck
Mm.
in a situation,
Right.
which is understandable. And it's a good starting point. So on the left-hand side in bullet point, I don't want to feel sad about, and, we usually know what it's about, whether it's an estrangement from someone, or a problem with a child, or a grieving of the loss of a parent, or doesn't matter what it is. But if we start to acknowledge, okay, I don't want to, I probably wouldn't use that as an example, because I actually think that I actually like the grieving, because I know that grieving comes from love.
That's right.
And so I don't actually ever want to lose the grieving point. So it's going to be something different to that. But it might be as simple as focusing on something you are interested in, or feeling confident that you can go and meet someone. It might be meeting someone new. It might be because you said yes to something. Now, I had an example of this the other day. Oh, yes, it hasn't happened yet. One of the ladies that's here said that a friend of hers from Sydney is coming through Paris. She arrives in Paris tonight, and asked if we would like to, have lunch tomorrow. And
Nice.
Genevieve said to me, would you like to come and have lunch? Now, I'm not great in those sorts of situations.
I know.
You know that about me. But I said yes.
Good girl.
That is me exercising that muscle.
Mm-hmm.
Me exercising, okay, I'm not particularly good in that sort of situation, because I am just going as Jane tomorrow.
Right.
I'm not going as Jane, Chateau Life resident curator, or Jane French table, or
leader
Jane
of the book
yoga,
club.
or Jane leader of the book club.
Right.
Exactly. I'm just going as plain Jane Webster. And Wendy, because we've discussed this, that terrifies me.
It's so
I am
interesting.
fine with a name tag on that gives me a title, but put me in any social situation, I'm not good.
May I ask you a question about that?
Yeah.
Or make a suggestion?
Mm-hmm.
When you have new Chateau Life guests or residents,
Yes.
do you want them to feel terrified?
No.
Obviously, that's a good answer. So how about if you practice what you would love them to be feeling the day before they're coming to your house, and you practiced feeling those same things the day before your lunch date, I wonder if you would have the same dreamy, supernatural experience that people have when they pull in the driveway of Bosque and walk up those steps and enter the Great Hall, and all of those things that they've never experienced, but they've imagined them in such a desirable way, instead of telling themselves, oh my, I've never met this person. It's not a hotel. Like, there's going to be other people there. What if I don't like the other people? What if? But no, you don't want them to go into the what ifs, because you've thought of everything for them, which is beautiful. And you love that people have a dreamy experience. So I would love for you to give yourself permission to have a dreamy experience.
Oh, I fully intend to tomorrow. I think that
I want you to have it today too, in anticipation of it.
Yes. Well, I think I'm getting there, my friend, because I was doing ironing yesterday, and I thought, oh, I'll get my clothes ready for Thursday. So, I ironed up a frock that takes a lot of ironing and a lot of Babylon. And
I'll make sure to acknowledge how beautiful you look tomorrow.
Yes. So but it's an example of, and we should look at the little things first, and just, okay, today was a good day. Now let's look forward to tomorrow. Right. Rather than to make a huge leap too quickly.
Sure. When I first decided that I was only available for what delights me, I started this practice of just asking myself, what would be the most delightful way to spend the next 15 minutes? Should I write some emails? Should I put a load of laundry in? Should I go check on the chickens? And it was, for me, a way to practice listening to my intuition. It was a way for me to practice what you practice every time you wash your hands. It was just a way for me to check in and be, instead of just work my to-do list, look at the to-do list. What would be the most delightful thing to do next? Well, I enjoy feeling very accomplished, so I'm going to do this big one because I want to cross it off. And it's been moved 3 times to each new day's to-do list. So that would be the most delightful way that I could spend the next 15 minutes. So it's just a way to practice choosing myself and paying attention.
Yeah. And, remembering that if you do decide to walk away from something, just getting back to to what we springboarded off today. Yes. I will never for a moment in my life ever again fight for somebody to see my worth. I think that if you decide to walk away from a situation, from a person, from a relationship, from a friendship, that you are having to fight for them to see your worth, stop straight away. It's much easier to walk away, and you've got a much stronger chance of following through on walking away from that situation if you know where you want to go, if you know what you want, if you've got a little map, a little mind map, a little treasure map, a little map that has pinpointed what it is that you want. And I guess, this is the thing, Wendy, we've all got the freedom to draw any mind map, any little treasure map, we've got the freedom to draw whatever we want and to go wherever we want and to have whatever we want and to feel whatever we want. And this is one of the most basic things, because I know everybody does it. Everybody's got somebody that, treats them less than they should be treated.
Yes. And we have to ask ourselves the question, how much longer am I willing to hand my power over?
Yeah.
to that person, that relationship, that situation.
Yes. And
Because
how am I going to destroy these limiting beliefs that I have about myself that allows me to be in such a situation?
Correct. And it can be very scary to do that. It's very uncomfortable. It's very unfamiliar. And it's very necessary, and it needs to be done. I experience that internal monologue, I guess, about a situation with a neighbor who is frankly not excited to have me in his proximity, and really not excited about the fabulous goodness that I desire to share with the world at the Phineas White House. And he is very vocal about that. And it, in complete honesty, it frightens me. And I allowed it for many years to keep me small, to keep my plans for this property and my plans for my business, to keep them small, to manage his comfort level at the expense
of your own,
of my dreams and my desires for this place and the goodness. And I could not see a way around that without one of us putting up a for sale sign. And one day, I don't even know which day it was, but one day I decided that I was no longer available to hand my power over. And even though people may be listening, or there's, even with you and I, there are situations where we think, oh, but I could never do that. It really is a decision away. There are consequences and procedures that are in place now, but because I made a decision, I am living out this quote that started our whole conversation. I am not fighting for that man to see my worth. I see it, and these dreams are in me, so these dreams are for me, and I am going forward in the good things, and I am owning my own experience, and I'm going to allow him to own his own experience, and I'm not going to navigate that comfort level anymore. And I'm just going to be here for the good. I have no idea, just in the next few weeks, there will be a formal decision from my town of what exactly I will be doing. And once that decision is made formally with the town, it just is what it is.
Exactly.
And I will continue to live into this new version of myself that chooses me.
Yes. Yes. I had one of the ladies in the I Want More ask me last week, yes, this is all very well, Jane, but I think that I've got all these unconscious beliefs about my own worth, and I don't know how to dig myself out from the beliefs that I have about myself. And so we talked about it, and I said, okay, I want you to get a piece of paper, and I want you to list 10 things that you like about yourself. And I said, and I don't want any excuses. There's got to be 10. 10 is the minimum. And then I want you to ask 2 close friends or relatives to do the same thing about you. 10 things that they like about you. A little bit like I guess what we were talking about. Remember when Megan wrote the eulogy for me?
Yes.
Okay. So now you've got 10 things that you believe and you like about yourself. You've got 10 things that 2 of your friends. So now there's 30 things, and there might be an overlap. And then I want you to also list all the achievements and moments in your life that have made you proud.
Hmm.
And
That's a
you can
good
go
practice.
back to the first badge that was sewn on your brownie uniform, if you like,
Right.
when you made pikelets. I don't care. There's no minimum age. There's no, and there is no maximum. Just write down everything in your life that you have achieved.
I love
Doesn't
that
matter how
practice.
big or small it is. Doesn't matter. And, you know, when you start looking at that, things that you like about yourself, things that other people like about you, and what you've achieved, you can start to feel pretty good about yourself. If you've got limiting beliefs about who you are and how, you know, what your worth is, then you have to go deep into an exercise of finding the good, finding the worthy, and remembering all the good things that you've done and all the things to be proud of. You know, it might be the time that you stopped to help an old lady across the road. It might be the time that you stopped everything to help a friend who was hysterical and in deep crisis. It might be the time that you baked a batch of cookies, gave them to a complete stranger.
I did that today.
Oh, of course you did. That's why I used that example.
There's a lot of learning and unlearning.
Yeah. 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 Oh, I've loved this conversation today, Wendy. Tell me, what is your takeaway from today?
Choosing yourself is a decision away.
Yeah.
And you are worth that. And you are actually no longer available to hand your power over to somebody else. And if you don't feel like you can utter that sentence in the mirror, I would love for you to send me a note and I will record myself saying that for you, because I believe that to be true. And I really desire every person that I come in contact with to cross over that line and to realize and understand that that we can own our own experience, and from a place of possibility and abundance, us choosing ourselves does not make any less for anybody else. It actually makes more. In the book, the beautiful book you recommended to me, The Art of Possibility, it talks about you have a piece of the pie and I have a piece of the pie, and the pie is whole again. It's just this beautiful concept that doesn't make logical sense. And that's the beautiful part of it. You don't have to understand why or how it works. You can just trust that it does. And the ripple effects of you choosing you, of me choosing me, are so far reaching in such a beautiful, positive way. It's a movement. It's gorgeous.
Yeah. Yes, I think that I'm very much on the same page as you. Ultimately, we all have to be our own cheerleaders. And I don't say, and I don't mean be full of yourself. I just mean, if you don't believe in yourself or your own value and what you bring to the table, how on earth is anyone else going to believe in you or value you?
They won't.
And what you bring to the table. And I think when you start to take the time to do this, you start to feed yourself very important information and evidence that eventually leads to a change, a shift, which creates a new, by using those muscles that we talked about earlier, a new empowering belief that's rooted deep within you. And that is belief in self, because, I know that that people may say, oh, it's such a cliche, but the truest cliche there is that without belief in self, you really won't reach your potential.
And I am unavailable for anybody else's opinion about what I think about me.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. I mean, you might have to change that when Amelia's a hormonal teenager and you have to have conversations with your daughter, but that's a little down the road yet, Wendy.
Yes,
but it's this whole idea of being, even if it's only internally, I am enough. It's the I am enough movement.
That's right.
Remember in I Want More when I asked you to write that on your mirror?
Yep.
I am enough.
Yes.
You have to start believing that you are enough and not trying to be something that you're not. And also that goes the other way as well, because I know, and I've probably said it to you before, I often say it to people, particularly when I first meet them, and we're starting to become friends. I will say, I know I can be too much.
Mm.
And I know that I dumb it down sometimes because I think, oh, you're too much, or you went too far. Or I will say, this is my favorite party line. Just tell me to shut up if I go too far.
I've heard you say that to me.
I've said that to you. But you know what? I'm never saying that to anyone ever again, as long as I live.
Yes, ma'am. I'm very proud of you.
My friend.
Who are you?
And we'll end with this.
Let's.
I will never for a moment in my life ever again fight for somebody to see my worth. Never, ever again.
I love it. Yay, you. I have
loved that today, Wendy.
Loved this as well. And I love your declaration. It's so good. Thank you so much for this, Jane Webster.
Oh, that's a pleasure.
To our next
that's a pleasure. That's a pleasure, Wendy Harrop. I'm not even apologizing. My gosh, and all I'm having is a Perrier with ice.
Well, we'll fix that.
Yeah, I'm about to go and fix that right now. It is 28 degrees. It is the first day of summer. I am going to make myself a gin and tonic. Beautiful. With cucumber slices and some mint.
Yum.
And lime. And I'm going to go and sit underneath the 350-year-old oak tree out the back with my music and a beautiful book that my friend Doris bought for me today. Contemplate tomorrow. That sounds absolutely dreamy. Enjoy, my friend. I will see you next time. I look forward to seeing you again soon. Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye. We have loved this conversation and sharing this love letter with you, and we would like to invite you to send us your love letters. Visit the link in the show notes to send us your letters and to join our email list. See you next week.